I'm your host, Rashid Hill, and today our topic will be about every cop gets a camera and they actually use it. Hello, good evening. I'm Rashid Hill, and I'll be your host for the Andrew Yang policy series that I have here on my channel. I am excited. I am always excited to talk about Andrew Yang and the policies that he brings. If you ever get a chance to YouTube Andrew Yang and watch some of his speeches, watch his rallies, and listen to his proposals and how he delivers his message, you will be impressed. Andrew Yang is an Asian guy that loves math. Andrew Yang is the opposite of Donald Trump. Andrew Yang brings a fresh look and he brings a fresh take on what the United States can represent and how the United States can be the influence in the international community as it used to be. What we need is integrity. What we need, values. What we need is a stable community that puts us on the track and the trajectory to be leaders of the free world once again. I'm your host, Rashid Hill, and today our topic will be about every cop gets a camera and they actually use it. What is the problem? Andrew Yang says police officers have dozens of interactions each day that would benefit from being recorded. Police officers do a dangerous job every day and deserve our support. Having a camera will help both the public and the police officer resolve complaints. It's the 21st century, and it's now possible to equip police officers with more advanced equipment than ever before. We should invest in making our police officers as effective as possible while truly being servants and protectors of the communities they serve. The benefits of body cameras on police officers are clear. A year-long study in Rialto, California showed a reduction of the rate of use of force incidents of 60% and an 88% of reduction in complaints. Studies have shown that complaints drop dramatically when police officers are wearing cameras, both because of police conduct and because suspects behave better when they know they're being recorded. It's common sense. Everyone is going to act differently if they think what they're saying or doing can be played back in a courtroom months later. There are 18,000 different local law enforcement agencies from the smallest towns to the New York PD. Each agency is subject to its own budget, leadership, and regulation. Nationally, there are thousands of decision makers, each balancing different interests and budgetary constraints, making widespread adoption very difficult. It would cost approximately $400 million to equip all 1.1 million U.S. police officers with body-worn cameras. The current costs are about $350 a piece, not including data storage costs and maintenance. Approximately 400 to 1,000 Americans get shot and killed per year by police. These stats aren't clearly kept, which is its own massive problem, some of which may be avoidable. Additionally, police departments receive thousands of complaints and lawsuits per year. Cameras would save many municipalities money by reducing legal costs defending every complaint that comes across the table. Also, from the frivolousness to the legitimate. This expense line is massive. The New York PD spent $136 million on legal settlements for complaints about police misconduct in 2010 alone. If cameras reduced this amount by a percentage, they'd easily pay for themselves. The same is true for other cities around the country. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not really concerned about if this is going to cost the police money. If you have police departments throughout the country, and two things. One, they are known for their abuse of the community in certain ways. It's been reported police brutality. It's been reported that they are mishandling cases. Then, yes, and complaints are high, then they need to have cameras. I also would say that the government needs to help make sure that each and every um, precinct, police precinct throughout the nation has the right equipment to do their job. And one of those things that is considered equipment today is a camera, and a working camera while they are working, while they're on duty and doing the job that we have as taxpayers expect them to do. Cameras would not only save lives and reduce incidents, but they save cities millions in legal costs. So it's not just that it will save the person that they're claiming misbehaved, or the person that they said resisted arrest, the person that they claimed was trying to um, disobey a direct order from a police officer. But at the same time, if you don't get the complaints because you're, as a police officer, acting right because you got a camera on, and the person that you're talking to is acting right because you got a camera on, then cameras will not only save lives and reduce incidents, but they'll also save the city millions in legal costs. Because now it's not your word against mine. Now it's not I come in there with a bloody face and a black eye and you say you didn't do anything. Well, it's obvious you did something. And so legal costs come out of that. So as one company that manufactures cameras puts it, made for cops by cops, prove the truth. So I think part of what needs to happen is that they need to understand protect and serve is the motto across the nation. And that should be what they're doing. And cameras, if they have proven that they bear fruit, then we should have them on every cop. No excuses. So what are the goals? Andrew Yang says the goals are to improve transparency and police work. He says as president, he will authorize federal funding to pay for a body camera for every single officer in every police department in the country. Have the DOJ complete or compile accurate composite measurements, including from private sources, of police-related incidents and deaths to establish baseline rates. Provide federal funding for training of local police officers in the latest techniques. Encourage community-based policing and reward departments for a combination of low complaints and continued efficacy. Reestablish the ban on distributing surplus, unnecessary military-level artillery gear to police departments. Invest in new non-lethal weaponry that can be used to de-escalate conflicts at range, and handprint signature guns so that weapons can only be used by their officers. So you will no longer have to hear, "He reached for my gun," while an incident takes place. Because if your fingerprint is the only fingerprint that weapon recognizes, you can't use "he reached for my gun and that's why I shot and killed him." Therefore, that is one of the most comprehensive, most direct policy proposals to reduce a few things. One, reduce deaths, reduce complaints with the cameras and with the type of weapon, reduce the legal fees, reduce deaths, reduce anger and fear by constituents in that community that they're supposed to be working with and protecting. Then it goes over into reducing the incarceration rates of the prisons. Because if people tend to do better with police that are wearing cameras, then they may not get picked up. They may act right. They may not be committing the crimes that they normally would because of the force being amongst the people, working with the people, and being on camera at the same time. So transparency and accountability picks up speed, not just for the police, but for the people in the community as well. And as he says in one of the commitments here, he says, encourage community-based policing and reward departments for a combination of low complaints and continued efficacy. So if the police department is helping and allowing community-based policing, whereas the community gets together and look out for themselves as well as, bringing the police in when necessary. One, it'll reduce the amount of police going out on calls that they really don't need to go out on, when they could be assisting on calls that they really do need to go out on. You want them to go and get the cat out of the tree when they need to be going over here for this domestic violence issue. So, and the community can work that out with the couple that's having those issues. So I think this is a win-win. So when people want to ask the question, is there a Black agenda? Is there a way to give people in underserved communities, people that of color, Black and brown people, is there some type of proposal? Well, let's think. If police violence is a problem, if police complaints, police brutality, here's a plan that Andrew Yang has laid out that I think goes further than most of the, or all of the other candidates. So one, his gun and police and camera policy. Two, reducing incarceration. Three, legalizing marijuana, which inadvertently releases the people from prison that are on nonviolent charges, and they may be paroled early. On top of that, the universal basic income is a springboard to being able to take care of bills and everyday things, and getting your children into a better school. I mean, literally game changer for the underserved community, because if you're going to get a universal basic income and that extra money go toward getting your kid into a better school, or even to a private school, or get you enough money where you can pay some bills on time consistently, and send your kid on that field trip that you couldn't do before. You may complain because, why, if I'm the one that's under the poverty line, why are the people above the poverty line, or even the richest people in the country, getting the exact same amount? Well, two things happen. One, you're going to use it for things that you necessarily need to, and now it pulls you up a bit, reduces the stress on you and your family, and the people that have it and don't really need that, then they're going to donate to a cause. They're going to donate their money to an actual charity that probably will benefit you all over again. There's a cycle. People are inherently good, and if they don't need that extra $1,000 a month, then of course they're going to put it somewhere that it could be utilized for the community that they serve or they live in. So hey, this is Rashid Hill, and this is the Andrew Yang Policy Series. Today we talked about every cop gets a camera, and it should be on. Andrew Yang talks about what he would do as president to help reduce the violence, to help reduce the brutality, to help reduce the legal issues in communities that have problems with their police, by making sure they have cameras and making sure the cameras are on. And I think one of the most powerful aspects of this policy that he proposes is to invest in non-lethal weaponry that can be used to de-escalate conflicts at the range, and handprint signature guns. That weapons can only be used by their officers or their owners, because this can happen in the home as well. And so if a child grabs your gun, then they can't shoot it because it doesn't recognize their fingerprint. Yes, it may cost a little more, but think about what a life costs. Wow. We can actually reduce the number of gun-related deaths in America. I'm your host, Rashid Hill. Please join me for my next episode of Andrew Yang's Policy Series, and we're going to talk about eliminating student debt. Eliminating student debt. Wow. Definitely want to hear that one. Thank you.